So The Wait by Dhonielle Clayton. I told you I would share like some of the things we talked about. So quick synopsis: teenage couple who's about to go off to college decides, well, the female in the couple, Grace, decides we need to go to this heart hospital and figure out if we should break up, or if our love is strong enough. Well, ultimately she's trying to figure out if they should break up before they go to college, because they're going to two different schools. And as you read the story, our minds go to wondering and go to thinking about different things. So number one, what bothered us from the beginning of the story, and granted Dhonielle Clayton is a writer, but she's, most of the stuff I read from her or by her is fantasy. So this is a dystopian fantasy genre, type text. So the heart hospital is definitely futuristic and a version of fantasy, because literally you go to a hospital to get your heart plucked out of your chest, and they read your heart by placing a coating over it to determine who you're in love with, even to family members, even to friends. And then depending on the impression on your heart and how big it is, or if is it permanent or does it look like it's fading, it shows, are you getting a love for someone else, or is your love fading for someone else? So immediately all the students are thrown off, because it's like, why are you going to a heart hospital to get your heart read when y'all can just have a conversation about whether y'all want to break up? So that came up. Then another thing that came up in the conversation is we do learn that Marcus is not very forthcoming with Grace. He admits out of reflex. He tells her yes, he tells her sure, even though he feels some type of way about it, or he's not secure in it, or he really doesn't want to tell her yes. But the reason why he tells her yes, because he wants to please her, he wants to make her happy, because he does not like the fact that his father, who is notorious for cheating on his mom, doesn't make his mom happy. So he figured his way of making Grace happy is to tell her yes, even though he's not feeling it. So the reality is, we see from the beginning of the story, he does not want to come to this heart hospital. He even brings up that people have broken up, that people gotten in fights as a result of going to this heart hospital. And Grace is like, well, are you up for it? And he says, sure. But then you hear in his inner thoughts, he's not sure. He doesn't want to do this. Okay. So then it comes out later on, also, besides the fact that, Marcus witnesses his dad cheating on his mom, he feels like, even though I'm not being honest with her about my feelings and what's going on with me or how I feel about certain things, I'm not lying to her. It's not a big lie. And then one of my students was able to pick out the fact that there's a line in the poem when he says, as the man, there was another man who came in to get the procedure done. His girlfriend made him do it because he cheated. And he said, listening to this man's affair caused my chest to rattle to the point that my fear was excavating from my chest. So one girl said, I didn't pay attention to that before, but now that you read that again, Miss Jenkins, I think that means he actually either cheated on Grace, or he has feelings for her, feelings for someone else. Because why is he getting fearful while this other man is talking about his affair? And it does contradict what Marcus told us, because what we hear in Marcus' thoughts is he would rather break up with Grace than cheat on her, which we also found out later in the story that Grace and Marcus have broken up and gone back together several times. Now, they're childhood sweethearts. They've known each other since they were children, their first love, their first kisses, but they have had times where they're broken up and they gotten back together. So the question I pose to the students is, well, who do y'all think is breaking up with who, and who was initiating them getting back together? And we, at the end of everything, realize we think it's Marcus. And at one point in the story, he shares with us, he is definitely curious about other girls, and he does not see himself being with Grace forever. On the other hand, we hear in Grace's thoughts, she is hesitant about being with Marcus forever, but at the same time, she wants to be with him forever, and she feels like Marcus is the one. So it's so many dynamics. Then my students, when I say I love having these dialogues and these discussions, because it makes it connect and it makes it stick. So then some of the students said, I think they're trauma bonding. Like, because she had her mom passed away, and we're assuming it's a recent death. And because the mom passed away suddenly, she wasn't expecting it. That caused Grace to navigate in this space where I need to know answers now. I don't like being surprised. So instead of me trying to figure out if me and Marcus are going to break up, let me have this procedure done so that we can, what's the word I want to say? Let's have this procedure done so I can definitely have answers on what to do next, versus me guessing it and us talking about it. And again, Marcus, we saw he's guiding his relationship issues by how his father treats his mother. So then another person said, it sounds like not necessarily it's trauma bonding, but they're codependent on each other. Like, they're a familiar space with each other when it comes to love. So even though they may explore and talk to other people, they always end up back together because it's familiar, because it feels convenient, because it's comfortable. Y'all, it's so many lessons out of this story. So now, spoiler alert, if you've never read the story. Now, I'll admit we read it in Common Lit. I don't know how else you could access the story, but it's called Wait by Dhonielle Clayton. And the way it ends, that's a big bird. Now, the way the story ends, we know as we're reading the story what was written on Grace's heart and what was written on Marcus's heart. But we don't know their reaction to when they find out what's on each other's hearts. And like I've shared with y'all before, when I did this with my English 1 kids, I had them act out, like do skits, and they recorded each other. It was a really fun time. And I had to emphasize to them, make sure that what you have happening is true to the actual characteristics. Because one team, they had Marcus fighting Grace. And I said, let's be real. Do you really see Marcus fighting Grace? Let's be honest about that. So it's crazy listening to them. And I had another student who mentioned how she feels like Coley. Now, I didn't bring up Coley. Coley is Grace's best friend. Coley told Grace that her and Marcus need to just break up, go to college, and have a clean slate. But yet Coley got Marcus and Grace the appointment to the Heart Center because there was a 6-month waiting period. So one person mentioned, I think, because on Grace's heart, the scab, there's a huge scab on her heart. Then there's one that's like forming. So that means love is budding for her. A new love is budding. So we don't know if the bigger scab is her mom or the bigger scab is Marcus, and the new love is someone else. I really think she's all of a sudden discovered this love she has for Marcus, which I know makes no sense because she's been with Marcus all this time. Some of my students suppose that this new love that's budding is actually Coley. Crazy, huh? And then some of the other kids said, no, I think Coley wants Marcus for herself. That's why she was proposing that Marcus and Grace break up, and maybe Coley is going to the same school as Marcus. Which is crazy to me because my students who are now juniors, that's what they put in their skit, that Coley ends up getting with Marcus. That's crazy. But it was a great discussion. How they were able to connect with it. Even one of my students says, I like how you read it to us. Because that's one thing I'm definitely going to do. Because my students are all over the place. So of course I'm going to read the text to them, which I strongly recommend all teachers do. You read the text to them. And as a matter of fact, let me start this video over. I'm going to stop right here, but I'm going to do a new video.